Andrew Neil said once Britain leaves the EU in March 2019 it will enter a Brexit transition period of up to 2 years where it will be subject to the rulings of the European Court of Justice (ECJ). Brexit Minister Robin Walker confirmed the ECJ will remain in force in the UK during the Brexit transition. Mr Neil hit back at the minister's comments and said, "Whoa. Taking account is one thing. We take account of rulings of the Supreme Court of the United States, but we don't follow them unless we want to. So let me just clarify, we will remain subject to the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice until 2021. BBC Brexit News. Andrew Neil said nothing changes once Britain has left the EU. The UK has played a role and will continue to play a role right up to the point of our exit." Robin Walker. Mr Neil said nothing really changes after Brexit if Britain remains subject to EU rulings. Mr Walker told BBC Daily Politics that Britain would stay under the same EU rules following the same basis as our current membership despite being out of the European Union. He said, "We would be doing that for an agreed time-limited period, agreed between the two parties." Mr Neil continued to challenge the minister. He said, "Nothing really changes because it is not an implementation, and is instead continuity." Mr Walker confirmed the implementation period is to make sure Britain has certainty and stability in order for businesses to prepare for Brexit. He said, "The UK has played a role and will continue to play a role right up to the point of our exit as a member state in making these decisions." The Brexit minister said it was unlikely that Britain will be made to implement new EU taxes during the transition period. Brexit Secretary David Davis has faced criticism after agreeing a 2-year transition period where Britain is effectively set to stay in the single market and customs union during the transition. Mr Davis was savaged by prominent backbencher Jacob Rees-Mogg over plans to keep Britain tied to the European Union through a Brexit transition period. Friday, December 8, 2017. Here is the 15-page Brexit deal in full appearing before the Commons Brexit Committee. Jacob Rees-Mogg suggesting to the Brexit Secretary Britain would be a vassal state during the transition period if it continues to be subject to the ECJ, pay into the EU budget and follow new single market rules. Mr Davis laughed and said, "No, we are not necessarily a vassal state today." The Brexit Secretary continued, "If it were a perpetual decision rather than a transition period, then Britain would be a vassal state." During the Commons debate, Mr Davis said the transition period, set to end in March 2021, could be agreed within an 8-week period in time for trade talks in March.